1351 in Empires of the Middle Ages. Not a lot changed. The decent ruler for Poland means that they get to go last, which gives them kind of a respite from any kind of attempts to knock them out of the game. They have a good enough ruler, piles of money. Nobody's going to attempt against them. So right now they're clearly in the lead. Elsewhere, we haven't seen much change. We saw some claims going in Normandy and Ile-de-France to solidify the holdings of the people who conquered them. And France is really just trying to see if they can come back in. 1356 sees English expansion into Anjou and Brittany. Byzantines move back into Asia Minor. And that's really about it in terms of physical expansions. The Italians cleared up their unrest. The Poles, everybody pretty much ruled otherwise. 1356, got a Syrian magnate role, which is the way I'm allowing entrance of the Turkish power. We're going to see if they can work. A few turns before, the Byzantines were nowhere near powerful enough, and the Turks could have probably seized whatever they liked, up to and including Constantinople. But now that the magnate's gone, and the Byzantines have a decent leader, and some money, it may be a hard role for the Turks to tell, even though they'll be changing religion and language. They have a pretty decent leader, 525, not a little better than the Byzantine one. So maybe they have a chance of doing better than just surviving in this one. 1361, and the proof is once again, look at what happened to the Turks. I really should allow someone to form Turkey out of better circumstances. If right after the Syrian magnate went away, Anatolia, Asia, and Cilicia had been Turkish, and just converted right away, that would have made things a lot harder on the Byzantines. As it is, they have to take one cheap area, and they happen to pick up a good leader in doing so. It was a leader dies heirless event. They lost claim to Corsica. Anyway, this is what I see every game is, as soon as a player's in control of that, you have to stomp the player because he might stay in, and it just kind of taints the whole thing, and you never see the historical expansion of the Turks. I don't know what to do about that. You got to give the Byzantines some chance, but it feels almost automatic here. Elsewhere, the English advanced into Aquitaine, and they're setting up a bunch of ties. They probably are holding some kind of dynastic inheritance, but maybe they're just hoping the French will fall. And the Italians went into Croatia to prepare themselves. They also made an attack on Corsica, the French territory, with the hope of grabbing it, but that didn't happen. So that's about it. We had a leader dies heirless event over on the Poles, and they got a wonderful leader. Consider that maybe a regency or something. Not necessarily always actually a leader dying heirless. But yeah, that's about it. 1366. So, I guess the biggest thing that happened was, or one of the big things, was the British got a heresy event in Aquitaine and were unable to quell it. So it spread through the French territories into Toulouse and Aragon. The Italians ended up taking Aragon, and they're starting a conversion process there, which we're seeing kind of the rump of what's left of what once was France. It's now kind of a Spanish area. I don't know what they're hoping for at this point, but and the other area where something interesting happened was the Byzantines had a leader dies heirless, and they lost Asia and Anatolia. Still kind of winging things with the optional rules on the Turks. I considered, Anatolia going neutral. That means the Turks maybe should show up again. But I'm not going to allow that. What I am going to allow, however, since they're not allowed diplomatic claims to anything, which actually seriously hinders their value, I'm going to allow them to take areas that they've converted to Turkish and Muslim which includes Anatolia only at first, with those cards. They didn't have one, so they can't do it right now. The area has to be... No, it doesn't have to be anything. All right, 1371. Excuse me. Let's see. A few interesting events happened. The Turks disappeared with the Dies Aurelius. They can come back. I mean, another player essentially can be reborn as the Turks the same way. Until there's an established Turk, that's what's going to happen. Otherwise, the Italians failed in Aragon and tried again. They reconquered it. And that's about it, really. I think there was a leader Dies Aurelius in Poland, lost them Norway. Not a big deal, although they were considering trying to start converting things like Bulgaria and Serbia to get the extra victory points that way. 1376, not a lot of change. We got a very good ruler in Constantinople. Good administration with the 9 and pretty decent fighting capabilities with that 5. Poles ended up fortifying Denmark. Be able to pull taxes from that. The Brits grabbed Aquitaine with plans to convert that, and the Italians are continuing with their conversion of Aragon. 1381. With the Italians went early in the game, the turn, and converted Aragon, and they also converted Croatia. That gave them a total of 30 victory points now from religious conversion, which with their board presence puts them right up there, and their wealth, etc. They may be doing better than Poland at this point, even though Poland is huge. And they're certainly doing better than other people like France or Germany, or even the Byzantines with their 35 points, because they've got such a truncated area. Byzantines also lost their very good leader towards the end of the turn, although they managed to get the wealth of their kingdom up pretty good. Only Asia and Greece are in questionable shape, well, negative shape. Everything else is maxed out. And yeah, the Turks are still out, and they probably can't make it in now. The effect of that Italian victory point gain from the conversions, and that's really all due to this card, which a lot of people think is unfair because it doesn't go away unless you discard it, is, well, unless you're eliminated from the game, is that both the Byzantines and Poles became very interested in supporting the French to some extent. Byzantines have a better valued capital, so the French ended up going there. But nobody's giving them cash, and that's what they really need. There were some talks of splitting 3-2. The Poles weren't willing to go for it. They have their own plans to just storm into Italy at some point. I don't know how well that's going to go. But anyway, that's where we're sitting right now, where France is no longer the threat they were once seen as, even if they were to regain most of their territory. 1386. Byzantines are ruling, getting their territory quite valuable. Mediocre ruler, 333s across the board. What else? Not really a lot. Everybody's pretty much been standing pat, trying to make some moves. Paul's made that consideration of attacking the Italians again, but they didn't go for it. Nobody's supporting the French. So pretty much things are in stasis, actually. 1381. We had the Turks come back into play, and again get knocked right out. The Byzantines are in good enough shape. The Byzantines had a horrible tax and ruling, etc. cycle, where they ended up degrading all their territory, however, so they paid some penalties, maybe not for that in particular. Poles started converting Bulgaria back to Eastern Orthodox, and the English gained Norway. They don't have claim yet. That's about it. 1396. Biggest thing we're seeing is the Turks got a resurgence and grabbed Trebizond. It is now to be considered Turkish language and Muslim. That makes it not really of value to the Byzantines any longer. What else? Germans are working up to being a nice little wealthy country, maybe to try to make some kind of last stab, maybe knock the Poles and Italians out. Well, maybe not both, but they got a pile of money. Those are their main competitors at this point. They're well behind both of those countries, I would say. The former French, and now we'll call them the Spanish, but they're not really anything, had a Leader Dies Airless event. And they're only down here in Spain and the Western Med. They can't rule that. They're still considered French language because they got the wrong kind of Leader Dies Airless to transfer to the Spanish court. But I'm sort of taking it as Spain is just unformed right now, but sort of a nation, which means that he could conceivably, the former French could conceivably become a new country there with all that territory. The other option, of course, would be to withdraw at this point and become a real Spain, which might make more sense. They'd be able to get all of the Castile, Portugal, Cordova, etc. The problem is the old French player has 25 victory points from conversions. So they want to hold on to that. If this were earlier in the game, they would definitely do that transfer. But they're still hoping to get everything that they have and then be able to fix the country and end up somewhere in the running. If they start new as Spain, they're probably not going to do as well as just sitting as they are. So we're going to wrap this one up because it's gone 10 minutes or so. Like I said, it's 1396.